Guys, happy Friday. Welcome to You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers, where we're here every single Friday at 11 o'clock. Today's question is, what repairs should we invest in before putting our home on the market? Stay with me, and we'll give you that answer.
You better get fired up.
Guys, it's always good to see you. Happy Friday. What a beautiful day out, man. I'm loving this weather lately. It's gorgeous, especially when you're a big guy and you got to wear a suit coat every day. It's kind of nice, huh? But today we're focused on the repairs that you're going to want to get done before you put your home in the market. And trust me, there are two things that I'm consistently looking at when giving those recommendations to my sellers, right? So number one, and I want to give a huge shout out to my favorite inspection company here locally. They're the biggest. They've got the most 5-star Google reviews. I think they give the best reports. They give them the same day. If the pictures just don't do justice, they add a video. They are phenomenal, man. They give free, it comes with the inspection, 5-year warranties on your roof, assuming that they say your roof is good at the time of inspection. They give free re-inspects if there's some issues on the that the buyer was not comfortable with. They'll come out and re-inspect some of those issues that you're negotiating with the seller. They just offer value. DBJ inspections, man. DBJ inspections, I love them. They do a great job, and I think they're very reasonably priced. When they come out and do some inspections, what I am guiding my buyers to be concerned about is scary issues, right? The big issues tend to be the big four, which is roof, that's number one by far. AC, which is probably number two by far. Probably electric is number three. And then number four is going to be your plumbing, right? And we're not talking about every single plumbing issue, every single electric issue. I'm talking about issues that are scary. So with the roof, we're talking leaks. If there's a leak in the roof, that's a problem. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. Or if you've got a 20-year shingled roof, that's going to be an insurance issue. That's scary. So those two things are pretty scary. When we're talking about an AC, really the only thing that's scary with my experiences, it's just not cooling. It's supposed to cool, I think it's 14 degrees according to state standard versus the outside temperature. If it's 9 degrees, 10 degrees, 11 degrees, 100% of the time, a cleaning and service will get that fixed. So that doesn't really scare me. I just tell my buyers, hey, put in that the seller's got to service it and clean it. That's fixed it literally every time I've had that issue, right? So let's see what that does. When you're talking electric, really anything electric, exposed wires are very cheap, but they're a safety hazard because that could create a fire. That is something I'm going to ask to get replaced if I'm the buyer. And I'm going to switch over to the seller's mindset here in just a second. Or there's a lot of panels. Challenger specifically is a brand of electric panel. If you've got a Challenger panel, it's really tough to get insurance. In fact, I've never seen a company who will give insurance. So you're going to want to swap that out. Well, that's a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 swap out in my experience. A buyer's not going to want to deal with that. Why would they? And literally every single buyer you have is going to expect you to swap that out. So as a seller, that's something I'm probably going to recommend a seller swaps out before we put it on the market, right? You don't want to scare away your best buyers. When it comes to plumbing, simple leaks usually aren't that big of a deal. Assuming they're small leaks, they're not big. But if we're talking a leak where they're going to have to get into the walls, so I'll give you two different examples, right? Under the sink, you've got a slow drip. And when I say a slow drip, you're getting maybe 2, 3, 4 drips a day, and it's creating over time a little stain. And eventually that stain in the wood that's on the bottom underneath the sink, it'll mold or it'll deteriorate, eat away. You're going to want to fix that, right? But that's something, honestly, you can probably tighten it up and that'll fix it half the time. Or maybe you take that piece out because it's wore down, you put a new piece in, or you put a seal in, or something like that. But it's going to be pretty easy to fix. Most people are going to be able to do it themselves, and you can probably do it at Home Depot for $10, $20, $30. The issues where I get concerned are when we've got issues inside of a wall, and we're not going to be able to fix them unless we get a plumber who opens up that wall. That's scary because we don't know if it's a really cheap issue or if it's an expensive issue. And if we've got a leak and it's inside the wall, we don't know if we've got mold issues. So there's a lot of different concerns there where if it's something where it's fully exposed, which underneath the sink is a great example of that, that just scares me a lot less, right? So those are the big, scary concerns. So I always tell my sellers, number one, going back to DBJ inspections, get a pre-listing inspection. Yes, in most cases, traditionally, the buyer pays for the inspection, but the inspection's $300, $400. You're selling a home that's $400, $500, $600, $700,000. Just pay the $300, $400. Let's get the inspection. Now we know every single issue in that home, and there's a couple really cool marketing things that we can do to make it look good, to spruce it up for that buyer, right? So what we can do is, number one, look at those scary issues. If you've got a roof leak, do you want to find out about that 3 days into a pending deal and now you lose the best buyer you're going to have? No, you don't want to do that. Do you want to find out you've got that challenger panel that's got to be swapped out, and all of a sudden that buyer freaks out and they say, whoa, that's too much, I'm backing out of this deal? Now you got to go find the second best buyer, and that second best buyer, they're going to be 5, 10, 15 grand lower. No, you don't want that, right? You want to look A plus, shiny object, great on day one for all your buyers. So you want to make sure those things are done. So all those scary things, I'm going to suggest we get them done. And not everything on an inspection is scary. In fact, I'd say 80, 90% of it is not scary. A lot of them are really minor things, like the weather stripping on your door is letting a breeze through. Well, guess what? My door does that, and it's not scary enough to where I've fixed it. I probably should, but I haven't. Cracked tile. I got tile. This is I think it's an 18, 19-year-old home. There are tiles in my home, original tile, where there's hairline cracks in my girls' bathroom because they're crazy. They're animals, man. They're kids. So we've got 1 or 2 hairline cracked tiles. Are those things scary? No. Do I suggest that my seller get them done? No. So the second thing, scary is number one. The second thing that I suggest a seller gets done before you put it on the market is cheap repairs, cheap, easy repairs. So going back to that sink issue, that's something that I honestly, if I'm honest with you, I'm not a man's man, right? I'm in a suit coat all day trying to sell houses. I'm not very good at a lot of stuff like that, but I can fix that issue. I can get in there, take that little piece off, buy a new piece, get it on there, and boom, it's going to fix that 99% of the time, right? I can do that. It's cheap, it's easy, it's a Home Depot fix. Why wouldn't I want to make that inspection look good? Because if you go do 5 or 10 of those little fixes that anybody could do, and all those 5 or 10 probably cost you a total of $200-300, maybe even less, now you can get in a great inspection company like DBJ to start making notes on that inspection. They can come back and they can look at those repairs and say, hey, these things are repaired. Now they'll make notes and they'll say, hey, we did have 20 issues. 2 were scary. They got fixed. Here's the receipts from the company that fixed them, so you know you're good to go. And if you ever have issues in the future, you know exactly who to call. 8 more of these issues weren't that scary, but they were fixed by the sellers just because they wanted to be good sellers for you guys. So now instead of 25 issues, we got 15, and all 15 of these are pretty small Home Depot fixes. Holy smokes. So now you got seller's disclosures. That makes me feel confident as a buyer. You've got an inspection. That makes me feel confident as a buyer. You fixed 10 of these issues. 2 of them were the scariest issues. That makes me feel confident as a buyer. And you're notating the exact things that you're fixing with receipts from those that were fixed by professionals. Holy smokes, you couldn't be more, I don't know, powerful, a better marketer when it comes to making that buyer feel confident in the product that they're buying from you, right? It's a scary purchase for a lot of people. You're doing everything you can as a seller to make that person feel confident, and that's a great marketing tool. So again, the 2 things that I suggest, number 1 are scary issues, and number 2 are the easy, affordable issues that you can get in there on a weekend. I call them Home Depot fixes, and you can get those fixed at Home Depot for a couple $100 or less. So there you guys go. If you guys have future topics that you'd like me to touch on in any Friday, you've got questions, I've got questions episode at 11 o'clock, feel free to let me know either in the comments or by sending me a private DM on Facebook, and we're happy to do it. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for joining me.